Tonight's show on Cat, did God create venomous snakes and spiders? Let's talk about it.
All right.
We did that good.
We planned on that.
Pretty good.
No,
That was a bit of acting.
He planned it.
Acting. All right. So you guys really don't know what even to say about this, do you? That's the question.
I know what to say.
Did he create venomous snakes and spiders?
Yes.
Yes. Right out the bat, Garden of Eden.
Yes.
Yes. Any qualifier to that?
Well, I mean, if we're going, I think if he created everything, he created snakes
I'm
that were venomous. I'm saying yes.
Okay, you're saying
Just
yes.
knee-jerk reaction, yes.
Okay.
We'll see where this goes.
Okay.
Before we get into the actual heart of this question,
Yes.
do you guys believe the Garden of Eden and the whole Adam and Eve story was literal or figurative?
I believe it was literal.
Literal.
I think it was, I don't think it was literal. I think God operates with science and history, and so I will go with not literal. But I think all the things that happened in that story happened, but I think they just didn't happen the way that we perceive them. Just like the 7 day the 7 day creation, 24 hours. I think that happened over larger periods of time.
too.
Same with
Well,
the
so do
garden
I.
story.
Yeah, I think our interpretation, but the question was, did Adam and Eve, was there an Adam and Eve?
Yeah.
And did he form them from the ground? Okay, I believe those things are literal.
Yeah, and this is something I'm figuring out because I believe in evolution and all that, and I'm very aware of the scientific facts of everything in there. But it's piecing together, okay, how does this work with the Bible? If Adam and Eve did exist, where were they? I mean, we have genealogies provided within Genesis, and a lot of Christians, and I don't know if it's accurate, date it back to around 6,000 years ago.
I don't believe it in that.
When even a Christian like Francis Collins says that the first humans were around 200,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago. So how does that work together? And it's something I'm not well...
Single cell and so on and so forth. So they did come out of the ground, you know? So I don't know. Just a thought.
That's a good point. Never thought of it that way.
So I have no issue with God, the Garden of Eden story and evolution. I have no issue at all with that. But when it comes to Adam and Eve and the fulfilled prototype of a human being and what we are today, I think that story is somehow captured outside of the evolutionary processes that could have been going on outside of the garden. I believe the garden story is God saying, okay, man is ready, he's cooked enough, now I'm going to do this, and I'm going to produce woman from it, and whatever it is, and then...
So like the first, very modern human, the religion, the truth.
Yes.
And that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. That's how I see it.
Because if you are to believe the science, and this is almost undeniable in my estimation, there were different species of human. You have Neanderthals, Homo habilis, etc. I mean, different forms of humans. So would you consider Adam and Eve the first human in that general context? The species that we are, Homo sapiens sapien, if you are to take evolution, is that their word?
They could be would be the first Homo sapiens then, I guess.
Well, again, appeared around 100 to 200,000 years ago. According to modern day science. So
you mean instead of 6,000 years ago?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's 6,000. That's recent.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is
Pretty
recent. And that's my thing. So how does this all fit together? And it's not necessarily that one of us has to be wrong, but it has to be, there's not really an easy answer to what we're discussing here. And it's not necessarily either or.
I don't think it's easy to go off of the Bible on this because it's not a science book.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
People treat it like it is.
They do treat it like that, but it's not. So we kind of have to. All we can do is our best estimation of what happened and why that story is laid out the way it is and what that means. But I think science is science, but what you're saying, if it happened separately from all that, Maybe, I don't know.
Separately, maybe including all that, amidst all that. I don't think most Christians would agree with that.
Yeah.
The problem they often have too is death was introduced to the world by sin through Adam and Eve.
Right.
So if we had dispensations before of dinosaurs and coming from amoebas and molten and all that stuff, things were dying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So they would.
Was it talking about death as in
human
death,
sense,
or death as in, I don't know, that humans were then able to, I don't know. It's tough stuff because I don't have it fresh on the brain, so I don't know.
But to me, it's more easily answered if you say that within the human species originating from the garden experience, death to those human species was introduced at that point. But
that's what I would
But
think.
death in the other realms that were going on all around outside the garden. And the garden is literally a geographically understood place separated by
Fertile
rivers.
Crescent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Fertile Crescent.
So to me, it's not beyond, it answers anything we have to do with skeletons and everything. But back to the point of the question, did God create, I'm talking about from the garden experience, did he create snakes with venom and fangs to bite? And then at the end of the creation, did he say, and he called his creation good?
Yeah, they got to eat too.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean,
But they kill.
yeah, so do a lot of other
The
animals.
bears weren't roaming around
Yeah,
in the
but
garden.
that's after the fall.
That's
though.
right. It's after the fall.
So I think
Remember, we're talking from a Christian perspective of the
that's true.
Bible.
Yes.
So,
I don't. I have thoughts on it, but I don't know from a biblical perspective you can honestly answer that, because it doesn't flat out say that a snake was venomous or not before the fall. If you were to say that it was venomous, then what will be its purpose? Death didn't exist in the pretext of the garden before Adam and Eve. But I don't know.
So if it exists, God didn't create it though? Like,
See,
you see what I'm
it
saying?
could exist.
it's kind of a trick question, but I think that you guys have already answered it in that the fall brought about all devious acts in animals and man. It brought death to the world, and so I think the snakes were vegetarians. They were not. They were not venomous. There was no purpose for them to be venomous.
But who made it? Who made the venom? You see what I'm saying? Like, didn't God create everything? So if he did, then
But he creates everything good.
I'm going
Okay.
to try and throw out here an idea
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
I
I
just
see what
thought
you're saying,
about, but
kinda.
I don't know if it's going to work. So imagine the garden was separate from all the chaos of the outside world, right? And you have these non-venomous snakes in here. And Adam and Eve are kicked out. Garden of Eden is no more, basically.
Okay.
None of those snakes still remain non-venomous because there's non-venomous snakes, and there could be venomous snakes out there in the world, and those just turn out to be our
those are the
modern-day
fallen snakes.
Yeah, those are the,
Non-venomous.
You never
ones are
know.
the
I mean,
good
but there was
ones.
already venomous snakes in existence, just not inside the Garden of Eden.
I see.
So
I see.
that would just be my most reasonable estimation.
So
on
let me
that.
just say, so in the garden, if we take that story as legitimate, in whatever way you want to interpret it, in the garden, did the bears have fangs and claws? Did the
Or were they gummy bears?
now we're getting to the witticisms of Steve.
Oh, we made it. Gummy bear jokes.
Did Adam and
No.
Eve have to fear black widows?
Oh,
In
Well,
that,
I don't think they had to fear death until after
Or
they
pain.
sinned. Yeah, I don't think they feared that.
maybe God gave the snake the fangs, but they were malleable and they weren't capable, and they calcified after the fall. And venom was part of evolution. I don't know, but I just think
I think
that
my idea is the best.
he thinks
kind
his
of
idea
might
is the
agree
best.
with that. If this was a separate area from everything happening around there, then yeah, maybe there weren't venomous snakes in the garden until after they sinned. But yeah, I don't know. I'm working this through here.
Yeah, it's
We're gonna
not
get
as easy of a question as you think when you
Yeah.
first hear it.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna get a lot of hate for
What do you
this.
think
Either that
Christians
or
would
you're-
say?
Well, if you're like a strict evangelical Christian, just accept the literal meaning of it.
Yeah, and I don't
And then-
think you can.
And then the atheists are going to say, well, just throw out God and you're all good. You just have evolution. So we're going to get hate from both sides on this episode. I'm predicting it now. I prophesy this.
You are such a prophet.
I think God makes sense, and he makes things make sense in the world, from what I can tell. So, and I don't think this is any different. I think it's just a case of incomplete information, or a case of not enough context and information in the Bible account, because it's not a science book. So.
And he didn't choose to give it to us.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't give us anything.
No.
At all.
Nor venomous steaks.
So the question I have is then, if let's just go off the assumption that the typical biblical Christians have. God created everything. I got to go with my southern accent. In the Bible, he created the rattlesnake. He created the venomous viper.
Hey, we can start wielding rattlesnake. Have you guys seen like people that do that in the church? They
Snake handlers.
rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Let's start doing that here at campus.
Let's not.
See how it goes.
Because they are venomous now.
Shawn, don't you have the Spirit? Trust the.
I do not.
Trust the Spirit to guide you.
No, I do not trust the Spirit
the
to guide me.
snake.
But my point is, if those animals were created with fangs and claws to devour and kill, then what do we say to the mindset? Even if they didn't use it in the garden setting, they didn't use it. They weren't evil, but they had it. They were equipped. What does that say about God's foreknowledge of what was going to go down?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, which is why I
see.
say the snakes remained non-venomous after that, to just avoid this question. Because I was thinking about that, because it would show that God knew that, well, he did know that it was going to go wrong.
Yeah.
But he was pre-preparing these snakes. It's like, oh, you guys are going to remain peaceful for just a few days, but then once them two start sinning, you're going to start binding them and stuff.
I think he knew, but he gave them the free will to choose,
Yep.
but he probably knew that they were going to choose wrong.
So did he equip the animals in the garden at the creation to be carnivores?
Well, yeah, there couldn't be a threat of consequences without them being equipped, I guess,
Right.
unless they magically snap the fingers and then they're equipped with fangs.
Right.
But I mean,
And some people say that was a result of the fall, but
Yeah.
that's kind of a jump, right?
yeah.
So we
I
have
don't
to
know.
then say that God knew and he created it, and the bears had the claws, but they were eating berries and they were friendly.
Bears do that anyways.
Yeah.
They do.
They
Yeah.
mostly do.
Yeah. So all
let's
right,
hear.
snapping turtle did not snap. He was a kind, friendly
I see.
fellow. All right. So have we covered that subject?
I think so.
I think we've covered it sufficiently. Any
Yeah.
final comments on the idea?
Clear as fog. We got it.
I know, we're too good at this.
So what do you say to someone? We're going to get into the evolution topic later. But what do you say to someone who says you got to take Genesis literally? And what do you say as a Christian? We're all Christians. What do you say?
No one takes the entire Bible literally.
All right.
Yeah. I say good luck with
You're a
holding
liar
that-
if you think you
keeping
do.
that consistent.
You're a liar if you think you do, and good luck if you want to be consistent. And they are dead on. They're dead on. And yet we have a lunatic fringe, I'm sorry, out there who insist on saying you've got to take it literally. And it doesn't make sense. Now, I take some parts literally. I take the fact that there was a flood. I take the fact that there was an Adam and Eve. I take that literally. Do I take that the creation took place in 6 24-hour periods? I do not. So we're going to end with this. What is the source of knowing what should be taken literally and what should be taken figuratively?
I think pertaining to the Genesis example, just science in general, what are the facts? I mean, our entire scientific method and biology is based off of the fact that things that evolve over time. Now Christians will say, oh, I believe in evolution, just a microevolution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean when I say evolution. Like Frank Turek plays this line, and again, I love Frank Turek, but it's a bothersome line. What do you mean by evolution? You know what I mean. Things change over time, and over time, these species changes over millions of years with enough micro changes. So yeah, just look at the scientific evidence and base your conclusions off of that.
Okay, but with that argument, wouldn't somebody come back at you and say, what's the scientific evidence for God?
Oh, that's easy. Kalam cosmological argument.
And you're going to explain that to us someday.
Yes, sir.
All right.
and teleological argument. I think providing evidence for God, or at least a good philosophical case.
It's a philosophical case that you're presenting, but it's not evidence.
I think God works through science, so
Yeah, but
Okay, so science is evidence of God.
I think so.
you can't prove everything with science.
Okay,
But
so
science isn't meant for. Science is the study of the natural world. If you're talking about the creation of the natural world, you cannot use science for that.
yeah.
So we'll get to that question. It's going to come up with our future topics. You have something else to add, Steve?
Yeah. So God works through science. I would say, was the question, how do we choose what's literal or not?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I agree. It's through what we can see through science and history. But the thing that we need to all remember too, to sort of bring ourselves back to being humble people here, is that people don't agree on a lot of things with history throughout the years, nor science. Science is constantly we're all learning new things, even with history too. There's a lot of arguments on past historical events, and people say most of it's garbage anyways, which who knows. So I think we need to just kind of remember that there is some play in these ideas.
Yeah, but the only thing I would add to that is that in terms of evolution, it's almost non-disputed. I mean, there's a few scientists, as with everything, but it's pretty much a scientific fact with 90% of scientists.
Well, they said that about the Big Bang too. Now some people aren't so sure, and I'm just saying there is a possibility that the consensus will change because it tends to do that.
That is true, but again, I say look at the evidence for yourself and base your own conclusions off of that.
Up from the Bible.
Well, I'm just saying I don't want people to take things like this so seriously, and then when science changes, then they have their own religious idea of being a flat earther or of being a evolutionist if they find out no, actually it was something else. And then we're just doing the same thing anyways with a different name. So
yeah, well,
I don't know.
All I would say, look at it for yourself and just use your logic in it. I mean, personally, I know this isn't everyone's favorite. I love paleontology and fossils and stuff. Over my podcast desk, I call it, I have this whole line of trilobites and fish and all sorts of fossils.
I used to want to be a paleontologist when I was a little kid.
Yeah, I'll take you.
I like recess.
I have stories to tell you after the show. Yeah.
All right, so we are kind of wrap that up. We've sort of put our foot in the water, in the pool of evolution and of these things that it's going to come up in our topics of doom.
Can I say one thing super quick?
Yes.
Seek truth, and you'll find truth.
Amen.
Write a short comment, a short and sweet to the point comment.
Only good comments complimenting us.
No. I want to hear your criticism so I can prove you wrong.
Okay, criticize him, compliment us.
Yeah, go,
Is it your turn?
no, it's Steve's turn.
Yes. Okay.
All right, this is for next week's show. Here we go.
It's gonna be one of the
worst topics we've ever seen.
I'm a bad picker for these things. Let's see. Why does God heal some people but not others?
That is a great topic.
Good one.
All right. Why does God heal someone and not others? Next week on Christian Anarchy Today.
Out.